check, check. All right, welcome along. My name's Bosh. This is Bosh's Ableton Beginner Bits, and today we are going to be doing dub effects. Now, I've done a few videos on very basic ways of how to set up dub effects, but in this tutorial, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth of how to really make these effects sound a lot more true to the original sound of the genre. So we're going to be doing reverbs and delays on sends, but I'm also going to be going a bit into how you can go a bit deeper into the sound quality of these reverbs and delays, because what I often find is the built-in ones in Ableton, they all sound a bit flat and static when they're on their own. Don't really give you that rich sort of sound that you would get from analog equipment. We don't have the joys of analog equipment, so I'm going to try and recreate natural sounding effects in Ableton using Ableton stock plugins. What I've got here is a drum loop that I made earlier. Here's one I made earlier. Let me just minimize this mic track because we don't need to see that. All right, and I'm just going to be adding effects to the snare for now, just to demonstrate the different kinds of sounds you can get using these plugins. So let's just get straight. That was a terrible clap. Let's just get straight into it. What I want you to do first is create a return track. Go to the master, right-click on the top of the master. I've got my streaming stuff there, so ignore that, please, if you can. And just go to return track, insert return track, or Control, Alt, and T. So let's do insert return track. Now, you'll notice we've got this new track here on the right-hand side, but we've also had this knob has appeared. Why does it sound like I feel like I'm phasing, but I'm going to carry on anyway. So this knob's appeared here. Now, this knob is how much of the effect that you're going to create, how much of it you're applying to the sound. Now, in dubbing, it's very important to do your effects this way, because if I try and put a reverb on my snare channel, whenever I turn that reverb off, the effect's just going to stop like that. It's just going to cut off completely. It's not going to sound natural. Whereas this way, doing it with a return, it's as if you've got the reverb existing and you're just sending bits of the sound to that reverb. Rather than turning the reverb on and off on the channel, the reverb's always on, but you're just sending information to it. So the first thing I want you to do, I've got a little list here, and this return track, I want you to get the following things and drag them all into this return track in this order. So you can go, you don't need to see my screen while I'm doing this, you can go into Ableton if you like and follow while I'm talking here. So the first thing we're going to get is the auto filter. So go to your instruments, your effects, your audio effects. EQs and filters, auto filter. Drag it onto the return track. Yeah. Next, you're going to get the LFO. Now, that's in the modulators section. So click on the modulators folder, look for LFO, drag it on. Then you're going to get the saturator plugin. That is in the drive and color section. All right, we've got the saturator. And then we're going to get the verb and then the echo. So we're going to get a basic reverb. Let's just do the real standard reverb as well. And then I want you to get the echo from the delay section. Yeah. Now, at the moment, these aren't doing anything, which is what we want. I'm going to expand this a bit because then I can add. Check. All right. So, at the moment, that's just got a delay and echo on it. Now, let's turn those off for the time being. Now you'll see that this sound should be unaffected when we turn up. Yeah, so all it's doing is making it louder at the moment. Now I'm gonna use different parts of these effects at different times to show you how they all work. So the first one I'm gonna do is the filter and a reverb. So we'll turn off the saturator, turn on the reverb. You want the ones you want turned on for this are as follows. You want the auto filter, the LFO, and the reverb. Now the first thing you're going to do, let's turn our effect up. So we've got a basic reverb there. Let's change the size. So size is obviously the size of the room. So as you can make it smaller, you can hear it. It sounds like the space that it's in is reverberating. It's getting smaller. Right, so I'm going to make mine quite tight. A little bit of a longer delay. Okay, so we've got a nice little reverb there, but it still sounds quite flat. Everything that goes through it kind of, you know, it's the same reverb every time. So this is where the auto filter and the LFO come in. First thing you're going to do is go to your auto filter and pick the middle setting here. That's the notch setting. Let's put this to a bit more of a normal spot here. And then your LFO, you're going to click the map button, and then you're going to click on whatever parameter you want the LFO to be in control of. So I want it to be in control of the frequency here, so I'm going to click on that while map's flashing. And now you can see that we've got our filter is running from this LFO. Let's listen to how that sounds. Right, it's too fast, it's not hitting properly. So let's use the rate on the LFO and slow it down. Let's try again. All right, we're getting there. But you'll notice the filter here is going all the way to the bottom and all the way to the top. But there's not much sound activity going on in those areas. So what we want to do is bring the ends of that LFO in, so that it's not going all the way to the top of the EQ and it's not going all the way to the bottom. It's kind of staying floating around in the middle. And this is how we do that. These little numbers at the top here, the percentages, 0% is how far to the left it's going to go. And 100%, well, the one that's on 100 now, the one on the right, is how far to the right it's going to go. So we want to increase the bottom one because we want to move it away from the left. So I'm just going to put the percentage up there. And let's watch now. This won't go to the bottom now. Yeah? Let's put it up a bit more. I hope this makes sense. But these percentages are basically your left and right boundary for where the LFO moves. So that's good. We've got this hitting somewhere in the middle-ish. Yep. And then we're going to do the same with the top. Pull that down. And just look and see where it hits. That's a lot better. Let's slow the rate down again. So now let's listen to what happens. And bear in mind, when we send that snare through the auto filter, it's going snare to the auto filter, and then the reverb is reverberating what's coming out of the filter, which is an important thing, because if you put them the other way around, it's not going to have the same effect. So let's have a listen. All right, so you see how you hear how we're getting a different frequency hit every time. So we could increase the rate a little bit just to change how that sounds. Yeah, so that's one effect to do. So we've done filtered reverb. That's number one. Now we can add to this even more by adding the saturator into the mix. So let's turn the saturator on. And then all I'm going to do is increase the bass. Increase the drive a little bit. So you can hear we're starting to get more little artifacts and little grainy sort of distortion and things that just make it sound a bit more natural. I'm going to... So we're starting to get those sort of effects. Let's put it on my voice and see how it sounds on the voice. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're getting that phasing. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. So you're getting that phasing. Yeah. So the saturator's just kind of added a bit of warmth to it, bit of width, it's just beefed it up a little bit. Now with the saturator, bear in mind it's got a dry wet control, so you can turn it on and off, or you can have a little bit more or a little bit less. All right. So the next step I'm going to do, I'm going to leave all that as it is, but I'm going to start playing around with my reverb a bit more. Let's make the reverb bigger, as in the size of the room bigger. Let's make the decay longer. Yeah, so you're starting to get that sort of sound that you get in dub, that filtered reverb sort of sound. All right, that kind of covers it to what I do. This might be quite a short video, this, but that kind of covers what I do for a reverb send on a dub tune. I would definitely use, I mean, you could maybe try using a phaser as well. Put a phaser in there instead of the auto filter. It's another way to get frequency changes. But the next thing I would look at doing is the echo. So what I'm going to do first is lower the size of my reverb right down. I'm going to lower the decay right down. I'm going to keep it in there. Okay, so I've made the room size tiny, so it's a really small space that the reverb's happening in. I've made the decay really small as well, so the reverb tail, I need to do it this way, I've realised, because the camera's flipped me. So I need to do this. I've lowered the decay, so the decay isn't as long, how long the reverb lasts, because that is one thing to try and remember, is the size and the decay are two different things. The size of the room is literally the space that the reverb is in. And then once that reverb's in that space, you can change how long the tail of that reverb is, how long it reverberates for, and they create two different sounds, those controls. So that's quite something quite important to remember there. So now we've got a really short, like filtered reverb, but it's not leaving a mega long tail on the snare. The reason for that is because I'm now going to drop the echo on, and the echo is what's going to fill the rest of the space. And let's see how it sounds with just the echo stock. I'm going to turn the dry down a little bit apart from everything else. Yeah. So what we're doing by doing it this way, by creating a very short reverb and then a long delay, the delay isn't just delaying the original sound, it's delaying the reverb. And it's such a short little reverb that it just creates a nice bit of character. Now, one thing a lot of people ask about is the swelling feedback kind of effect. And there's a couple of ways to do this. There's a few ways to do this. Way number one is with the feedback effect in echo. Now, bear in mind that using certain ways to get long swelling feedback, when you've got a reverb involved, it just creates like mic feedback, like the wee sort of tone. So you've got to be careful of that. But I'll address that as we get to it. So the first way is just by turning up the feedback knob on the echo. Yeah. So that's one way you can get it to build up easy. The second way, a few more steps involved, but it's not mega. You're just going to go to this send here, which is the same as these knobs. It's a send knob, all the same, but it's attached to itself. So if I right click and go enable send, when I turn this up, we're going to be sending the output from the return back into itself. So we're getting that fed back doubled up signal. Now, like I say, it's got a reverb in, so let's see if we get that squeaking straight away, that tone, and I think we will, to be fair. Yeah, so that is because of the reverb. If I take the reverb out, you should get a lot less of that. Maybe not. Maybe we get more of it. Interesting. I think maybe it's because of the drive as well. Let's see. Yeah, so you can see what I mean. It's doing it that way, you're a lot more susceptible to different errors that occur when you have like too many plugins creating feedback. Because I think because I've already driven it somewhat with the saturator, that's probably not helping as well. So let's try reverb on, saturator off, and let's maybe turn the LFO off as well. Let's do that and see how that sounds. Still very screechy high end. See what I mean? That's why I'm saying when you use this method, you're a lot more susceptible to feedback and swelling sort of sounds getting a bit out of control, and that's because you're literally sending the sound back into itself. So you're delaying, and then you're delaying again and again and again and again. So that's where that feedback builds up. So let's leave that way for now because it's a bit chaotic. It's my favourite way to do it because of how much more extra sound you get out of it. But we're going to leave it for now because it is a bit mad, and you need to. I'd recommend putting a limiter on if you're going to do that, just so your sound doesn't blast your sound card and anything like that. So I'm going to put the saturator back on. Let's see where we're at. Okay. So we can try putting a shorter delay on this with a longer feedback. A smaller note division, should I say, with longer feedback. And let's straighten out these notes as well. So you start to get some madness here as well. So it's interesting to sort of play around and see what kind of these building effects you get. But this is the core of it. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to add any more to these, but I'm just going to start playing around with the parameters a bit more and see the kind of sounds that we get and see if it's something towards an authentic kind of dub thing. Now this mod's quite a cool one. So you go into the modulation section here at the top. And I like to put the mod up to like 4, filter up to 4. Let's see how that sounds. Let's put these right up and see. Let's turn the filter down. Okay, so the delay is causing that. So we want to lower that down. Turn the rate down. Ooh, that's quite nice. Let's turn it up. What have I done here? Turn the mod delay down a bit more. It's quite a nice sound. Yeah. What else can we do? So another interesting feature is This little D here, now this is a distortion function, and basically what it means is it distorts the echo. I'm pretty sure, let me turn the help thing on just to check I'm getting this right. Yeah, so that's the input gain. When you click the D, it'll distort the input that goes into it as well as the output. So it adds any distortion to the original sound as well. It's a really cool feature. Let's just turn that off and... So you can hear we've turned the amount of input that's going into the echo, and it's starting to get a bit clangy and a bit delayy. It's nice. I am going to turn the pre-delay of that down a little bit. And now let's turn on this distortion button. So now we're not just getting that distortion on the reverb, but you can actually hear it on the original sound as well. So it's distorting the original snare as well, which is good. It's a nice little thing to add. Yeah, so you can hear the original snare is quite weak, and then now it hits harder. Let's Let's put this back to a dotted. Turn that filter mod down. Now here, this character knob in this echo thing's quite cool, this character section. I would put the morph down. These I would personally add these as like subtle effects. Yeah, I just add them as like a nice steady little, just slight tweaks just to add character to the sound, rather than making it sort of go wow, because that's just a bit much. Obviously you can add noise. Yeah, so that's another nice little clangy effect. What else can we change? Let's change the style. Ooh. Let's turn. Yeah, these are all just different ways to alter your sound and make the thing sound a bit more authentic and a bit more gritty. What I might do as well, just for a little bit of extra sauce on the sound, I'm gonna, where is it now? Drive, saturator. I'm gonna put another saturator on the end. Bass up to 5, 2 drive, just a little bit. Let's turn down some of these effects that I put on here. Yeah, that's another good way to do it. Oh, that's perfect. This is about right. Right. I'm gonna leave this there. So, quick rundown of everything that we need to do. Firstly, stick with your basic reverb and delay, and then put things before them in the chain. That's the way I like to do it. Saturator can add that old sounding, basically saturation, distortion. to it, make everything sound a bit bashy, like you've overdriven it, like run it through a pedal a bit too hard or something like that. The filter with the LFO is a prime one. Don't forget how to link the LFO to the auto filter. So again, I'll just quickly click that frequency, click the map square when it's flashing, and then you click on your frequency thing and it maps it. So that's another good thing to get those sweeping sort of more randomized things. You could automate that filter. If you wanted it to hit at certain frequencies in certain places, you could draw that automation in yourself. That wouldn't be an issue. All you'd need to do is draw it in on the return track. That would be key. So I'd just click on frequency, show automation, and it'd show me the frequency automation here in the window down here. So let's have a quickly, just before, I know I said I was wrapping it up, but now I'm wrapping it up. Well, let me draw there for some reason. Why won't it do that? It won't do it. But yeah, you would basically draw that line in to pick where you want the frequency to hit. And that's it. Just combine things. I think that's what a lot of people don't think about doing when it comes to these dub effects, is combining things. The vinyl distortion would be a good one to put at the start of this. So put your vinyl distortion on and then your reverb. So then you're going to get whatever you send to it is going to go through distortion, then to a reverb. So that would be another really good thing to do. But like I say, I'm going to leave it there. This is how I approach my dub effects. It's all in the tweaking. It all takes fine tuning just to get it linking right with the tune that you're making. But I'm going to leave it there. 100% I'm leaving it there. If you like this video, please subscribe. Please like it and share it. Comment. I'll reply to everything, negative, positive, I don't care. Tell me how you feel. Tell me how this video made you feel. Go check me out on the socials. My name's Bosh. This has been Bosh's Ableton Beginner Bits, and I will see you next time.